Lopez wants it away.
And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2. Matto behind the net. Sweeps it in front. He's gone! Matto! 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 Stefan Matto! And the Rangers have one more hell of a time, baby! But it's Mount Vancouver! Anthony for three. Puts it in! Knicks by one with 8.2 remaining!
Joe Namath, number 12, has been the one big sidelight. He's come down here and he says the Jets are going to win. In fact, he doesn't even predict it. He says, I guarantee a Jet victory.
His first at-bat of the game. There's a fly ball deep to left. It's on its way. There it goes. And the Yankees are going to the World Series. Aaron Boone has hit a home run. The Yankees go to the World Series.
This is WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Come on!
Here we go, 4:01 p.m. on this very gloomy Monday afternoon. This is WHPC Sports Talk here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Michael Merlo. I've got Ross Levine and Elijah Blain in, a smaller crowd on a Monday, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot to get to, because there is a lot to get to, including a couple of rumors that are taking over, I think, the storylines in New York in two different sports, but one right now taking over the storylines in Major League Baseball. First off, guys, how you doing today?
Doing okay. You know, I think overall the All-Star break's going to be a good time.
Yes, both teams can use it. The Yankees had a very nice weekend, a fun weekend over at home against the Red Sox. Would they outscore them 27-3?
Yeah, something like that.
In the last two games of the series. Yeah. They lost a tough one Friday night, but still a nice weekend, and their lead is huge in the division going in to the break. They have the best record in baseball, and a dream start for the New York Yankees. The Mets had a very nice week as well. Lost a game late in Chicago yesterday. We'll get to that in a little bit, but we have to start with Juan Soto. And the Nationals had came out, a few weeks ago, and they had said, we're not trading this guy. And there were thoughts, okay, they're going to hold on to him. They're going to try their best to get an extension done with him. Mm-hmm. And it's come out now that the extension talks have not gone well. Scott Boras is asking for an astronomical amount of money. That is, of course, Juan Soto's agent.
Yeah.
And now the Nationals are saying, we can't do this. We are going to have to move off of this guy. We might as well get something for him now. And I don't know if a deal gets done
before the trade deadline.
Because first off, you're talking about, and this was reported yesterday, a Kevin Durant-like trade.
Yeah.
And I don't even think Kevin Durant's getting traded from the Nets, because I think the trade would be so big, nobody would be willing to do it. But baseball's different. You see teams try and gut their farm systems to go get a superstar player. And I don't think there's any doubt here about Juan Soto.
I think he's going to get traded. I don't think, just the way the Nationals are right now, I think they're changing owners, a lot of uncertainty. They're not a good team. I think he's going to leave. It's just that I think his value is at the highest it can possibly be right now. It's not like he's going to play poorly throughout the rest of the season, but wouldn't the Nationals think that, okay, we set a hard deadline, maybe we can get the most possible value for Juan Soto right now?
There's only a few teams that could actually make a trade for Juan Soto, though. And it was reported yesterday that, number one, the Nationals see the Mets and the Yankees both as fits.
I think they see a good amount of teams in MLB as fits if they have the capital.
Not really. They
see the Mets and the Yankees. That's really what it is. Just two teams.
No,
and the Dodgers.
They like what the Mets have. They like what the Yankees have. They like what the Padres have, and they like what the Dodgers have. There's only a few teams that actually pull this trade off. Okay, there's the Marlins don't do this trade.
No.
Smaller market teams do not make this trade. He's going to a bigger market. He's going to one of these teams. He is 23 years old. He's younger than some of the guys in the futures game the other day. Okay, so the reason why this is such a big story here and why you've probably heard about it all day is because the Mets and the Yankees are going to look into this, both teams. And you could tell me, oh, well, the Mets are, in the division and the Nationals aren't going to want to trade him there.
Yeah, that's false. I think the Mets, Nats would be fine if they trade him to the Mets. As long as they get the right return, it's okay.
Don't you think the Mets look at it the same way though? Like you would be trading Francisco Alvarez,
to the Nationals,
Brett Beatty, your top prospects, guys that you believe are going to be superstars in this league, and you're going to send them over to your division rival. So the Nationals probably view it just like that. And let me ask you this question for these, the people that would say, oh, well, the Nationals would never trade him into division. What's going to happen in 2.5 years? Most likely.
I mean, he's a free agent, Juan Soto.
Who's going to be most likely? Give me 3 names, 3 teams that would be involved in the Juan Soto sweepstakes.
The Dodgers, the Yankees.
Yankees without Judge.
Yeah, without Judge. That's the big thing.
And we're going to get to that in a minute. But who would the other team be?
Padres?
The Mets would be in
the Mets would be in it.
The Mets would be in that. So if Juan Soto was going to consider the Mets already in free agency,
yeah.
Why just lose him? Why lose him?
The thing is, if he trades Juan Soto to the Mets, he's probably going to be a Met for 10 years because Steve Cohen's going to want to pay him.
Well, but here's the thing, though. The reason why...
Do you want to... So when you're a better team in, 5 years, do you want to go against Juan Soto on the Mets to win a division?
Yeah, but you could say that for the other way, that they don't want to face Alvarez. You can make the same argument if the Nats and Mets did make a trade. You can make the same argument for the Mets that they don't want to face Alvarez.
The Nationals obviously don't want to face Juan Soto for for 15 years, for the next 15 years. I completely agree with you. But A, the Mets don't want to have to face their prospects that they would be sending over to the Nationals. Yeah. And B, the Mets are going to have a chance at this guy either way, most likely in 2.5 years, whether if they didn't trade him. If the Nationals do not trade him, then the Mets are going to have a real good shot in 2.5 years.
And guess what? First of all, I think he will be traded before his contract is up.
I do too.
I think at some point he will get dealt. Now, if let's say Judge became available, because that's a big thing, Judge, Soto, if the Mets were to, I don't know, for whatever reason, the Yankees and Judge can't get a deal done, he hits free agency for whatever reason, and the Mets want to swoop in, they sign to whatever amount of money he wants. Well, then it takes you out of the Juan Soto.
The Mets are 100% out.
Then they're out. So that's the thing. If they don't get Judge, or they don't think they can get Judge before the season starts, then that Juan Soto makes it a lot more likely. Because if you look at where the Mets are now, they are in World Series. This is a win-now team. This is not about the future anymore. We are a win-now team. They have made the playoffs since 2016. So there is a lot more of a need for the New York Mets to get one. So you look at the lines that the New York Mets didn't put out there against the Cubs, pathetic. It's not good at all. You need some offense in that lineup, and Juan Soto fits that. And guess what? He should have more protection. Because you look at his numbers with Washington, they're not great. They're not. His on-base percentage is very good.
I'm looking at it now. He's been better, and you're right. He does deserve the protection in the lineup. 516-572-7440 is the number to join. You want to talk about Juan Soto possibly coming to New York. He also answered a question before about New York, and I'll tell you what he said about New York in a minute. But you're 100% right, Ross. I mean, think about it like this: the Mets, Sandy Alderson, Steve Cohen, Billy Epler have stressed since they've all gotten here, since Billy Epler's gotten here, and really since Cohen has gotten here, that the Mets need to build their farm system. They need to build it up,
right,
to be able to make trades like this. That's why they have to build it up. And they had 4 picks last night in the MLB draft. A lot of scouts are saying that they got the best hitter in the draft last night. Just so happens to be a catcher. Don't know if he's going to be there long-term as a catcher, but just so happened to take a catcher who is arguably the best hitter in the draft, won the award as the best college hitter last season at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Georgia Tech. I think it was Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
But the Mets are replenishing the farm system with these draft picks that they had last night. They have more draft picks coming, obviously, the next couple of days. But they have stressed building the farm system to be able to make trades like this. No matter what happens, whether you're the Mets, whether you're the Yankees, whether you're the Dodgers, who, by the way, have the farm system to pull off any trade they want.
It seems like they always have the farm system.
The Padres, I believe, have the farm system. I just don't know if it's worth it for them to do it, because I do think they're going to have to give up some major league talent.
Yeah.
With the Padres, I think is the same situation as the Mets. Well, completely different. They're much poorer than the Mets. But they're in win now mode in San Diego.
The one thing I'll say about San Diego though is their small market, and look, San Diego, you saw before the All-Star break, they kind of faded. They were not great, and you're going to get Tatis back, so. I'm not saying that takes them out of Juan Soto, but getting Tatis back is going to help them. Mm-hmm. And the Mets do not have a guy like Tatis.
Francisco Lindor is not. He's not Tatis.
No, not even close.
Well, what you're trying to say is also the Mets don't have an offensive player coming back to add that kind of impact. The Mets have Jacob deGrom coming back, which we'll get to in a little bit as well, but they don't have a stud offensive player, one of the 5 best offensive players in all of baseball, coming back. I've heard this argument, should they make these trades? Is it worth it to give up Alvarez? 10,000%. Is it worth it to give up Jason Dominguez or Anthony Volpe? 10,000%.
Well, yep.
You do whatever the hell you have to do to get a guy who I think, and many people think, is going to be a future Hall of Famer one day. 516-572-7440. The number to join, 516-572-7440, is the number to join if you want to talk about Juan Soto possibly going to your team here in the Tri-State area. Please give us a call. You do whatever you can.
How about this? Yeah. I just thought of this. Like, let's say he gets traded to the Padres, and how much is left in his contract? Like 2 years?
It would be the rest of the season, then 2 more full years.
Mm-hmm. So he plays out that deal, and then he's a free agent, and he ends up signing with the Mets. Is that a better situation for you? And you get to keep Alvarez.
Yes and no. Beatty. I mean, in that sense, in terms of keeping the prospects and having Soto, yes. However, you don't. You got to remember, you can make other deals too. I mean, you could trade for Josh Bell. You can make moves for other players. That may require some prospects as well. But you want to win a World Series now. This is the time to win it, because look at it like this. Max Scherzer is there for 3 years. You don't know how long Scherzer is going to be a New York Met for. You hope he's there for a few years, but you don't know. They have made a veteran roster. It's guys that are a lot of ages over 30. There's some guys like McNeil, and they're in their 20s, but a lot of guys are in their 30s. This is a win-now team. This is not a team that's trying to rebuild or retool and try to win in 2026. This is a team that wants to win right now. Yeah. So you make moves for this to win right now. And look, the Mets may not get Juan Soto tomorrow. They may not do that, but they could make moves and get a guy like Josh Bell, Charlie Blackmon, Andrew Benintendi. I don't know. The Mets were interested in, and he was on the Mets radar. Yeah. So that fits the Mets. The Mets need bats right now.
The thing is, the Mets have a lot of needs. Not many needs that it's going to cost a lot, but they need a couple of things. They need a serious bat to DH or wherever you want to. Right.
Yeah, whenever I watch MLB Network, they're saying they need a power bat in the lineup.
They need a power bat, and then they probably need a bat for the bench. So that would be 2 bats. One, you'd give up a serious prospect. The other would be a lower-level prospect. So 2, I call that 1.5 moves, right? Then they need a serious relief pitcher, a setup man.
Yeah.
Ottavito's been very, very good for this team.
He's been good.
But they need another guy to be in the 8th inning before Diaz, and possibly close games when Diaz, is getting a day here.
I have a guy that you might want.
Hold on, we're going to get to that in a minute. And then they need another arm in the bullpen.
Yes.
Probably a lefty, a guy like Andrew Chafin, a guy like Gregory Soto, I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name right.
He's on the Tigers.
Detroit. Those are guys that you need.
Yeah.
So you need another lefty reliever to go along with Joely, a guy that is a step above Joely, and then you need another setup man. So that's 3.5 moves, in my opinion, right there that the Mets need to make.
Yeah,
the relievers won't cost much.
They don't normally cost a lot. They don't.
The bat will cost something.
Yeah,
but you have to save some of these guys. A, to possibly bring up, and B, to make trades. Are you willing to trade all of these prospects to go get Juan Soto?
Yeah.
And the Yankees are in a completely different situation here because you have Aaron Judge on this roster. So
you don't need more bats. You have your bats right now. You basically do. You scored 27 runs the last 2 games.
I think because we have a hole in the 9th spot,
I mean,
that used to be Gallo. I don't think Gallo's going to be on the team for much longer.
Do you add Juan Soto to that?
Do you really need him, though? I mean, do you really need Juan Soto?
I mean, it's nice to have Juan Soto.
Yeah, but, like, do you need him? That's the thing.
And if Judge decides, okay, the Yankees are not going to pay me what I want, and he walks, then we have Juan Soto, like, waiting in the wings.
The Yankees would have to know something about Aaron Judge not coming back to then make this trade for Juan Soto right now.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't think that they know anything. I think Aaron Judge is coming back. Therefore, I don't think Juan Soto is going to be a Yankee. Yeah. Unless they were just trading for him and they weren't giving him a contract.
Yeah, which I find that hard to believe. If you're getting rid of the prospects for him, you're probably signing.
I mean, this is a win-now team, though. It's not that out of the range of possibility. And we do have a spot in the outfield.
You do have older guys, though, and you have, these younger players coming up in the farm system that the Yankees praise. Brian Cashman loves his prospects, and he doesn't trade them much.
They don't. And look, we saw this a few years ago. It's a little bit different because he was a pitcher, but they traded a few prospects to get Sonny Gray, and that didn't work out. So you got to be careful in terms of what guys you want to give up.
But Juan Soto is not Sonny Gray. That's the thing.
But he's a free agent this year, or not this year, but Judge is a free agent. You got to be sure. And the point is, you're not going to have Judge and Soto on the same team. You're just not going to have that. It's literally impossible. And
you could have it for half of a season.
You better win with that then. You better win a World Series then. It better happen. I mean, it better happen without Soto, but it better happen with them. Otherwise, you are screwed.
That's maybe the greatest outfield of all time. Juan Soto, Aaron Judge,
and Giancarlo Stanton.
You better win with that. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Unless the only situation I see Juan Soto on the Yankees is if Juan Soto is not traded by the deadline, he's traded in the offseason, which, by the way, would not shock me.
Yeah.
I believe that the Nationals think that they can get more value if they trade him now because you have him for 3 pennant races instead of 2.5 seasons. The rest of this year and then 2 full years before he hits free agency.
If you're the Mets or the Yankees and you're giving up the prospects for him, you have to sign him. You have to sign them.
Which is why it takes any team that doesn't have much money, a smaller market team, completely out of the conversation.
And the crazy thing about this conversation is I don't think he's going to go to either New York team. I think he's going to go to L.A.
See, for the past few days,
I think he wants to be in L.A.
For the past few days, I've thought that. It makes sense that the Dodgers make this type of move. Mm-hmm. And listen, they've had guys on that team underperform all season long. Even for the past couple of seasons, we've seen Cody Bellinger not be the same player. Max Muncy this season has not been the same player. Justin Turner has declined with age. Yeah. That was coming. They knew that. Mm-hmm. They don't have, they're a great team. They're the best team in the National League, and they're 30 games above 500. And they should be the favorite to get to the World Series in the National League at the moment.
Yeah.
But they could probably use...
They could use a Juan Soto on that roster. And that's hard to believe for a team that's won 60 games already. But, yeah, they could use a guy like Juan Soto on their team to shred out that line. Well, the rotation's okay there. But see, this is how good the Dodgers organization is. Because now that they have this farm system, they have this great team, heck, they can get Luis Castillo. They could make these moves. That's how good they are.
Yeah.
And that's why Steve Cohen wants to do what the Dodgers. They want to be the East Coast
And I think the Dodgers also want to win too because I mean it's an internet narrative, but that 2020 World Series, it's not the most legitimate ring. I think they want to win.
You always want to win. You always want to win more World Series, but they may feel extra motivation because it was a shortened season. And you're 100% right, Ross. The Mets want to be like the Dodgers from the East. They want to be the East Coast Dodgers, and everybody should have that goal to be the East Coast Dodgers if you have money to spend. But you can't do that if you're going to offload these top prospects. Yeah. So I understand. I'm so torn. And the other thing I was thinking about, a couple of days ago, and I was telling all my friends, we were talking about it. I find it so hard to believe this guy gets traded. I just think that's it's such a massive trade that I don't know how it's possible to trade a guy in the middle of the season like this. But then I remember what the Dodgers did last season.
Yeah.
They traded for Max Scherzer, who was one of the 3 best pitchers in baseball last year and was on an expiring contract. He was a rental, but still had a massive price tag. And then also got their franchise shortstop, who had another year of control.
Yeah.
And they were able to pull that trade off.
And
so that's for 2 players at a very high price. Sure, this would be much, it would be a little bit higher of a price, but doable for teams.
And look, we saw the Dodgers do this a few years ago. Manny Machado was on the Orioles, and they traded him to the Dodgers, got him at the deadline, and that was kind of during the All-Star game, if you remember. I mean,
that was 2018,
I think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. The Dodgers are definitely in on this in terms of getting Juan, so they can definitely pull this off. They can get Castillo. They can get that's how good their farm is, and I think you're going to see a lot of action happen during the All-Star game. I could very well see it because it's one of those things where when you have a lot of teams in it because of the extra wild card, you may see a lot of action, and I think the guy that I want that the Mets should be looking for is the guy, unfortunately, who closed them out yesterday, and that's David Robertson. That is the guy that the New York Mets need to get on this team. And I think the bullpen and the lineup you saw yesterday, and really the whole series, by the way, and really the last.
Well, the bullpen was good. The bullpen was good, other than Drew Smith having a meltdown in the 8th. The bullpen was good this weekend.
I know the stats said Drew Smith was bad. I don't think he was awful, and I'm going to tell you why. Because there were a lot of soft hits on Drew Smith. There was a lot of balls that found holes, particularly the Contreras one. I mean, let's be honest, that's a soft one. That's a few soft hits. The only hard hit ball he gave up was the Horner hit. Everything else was kind of soft. It kind of found bad spots. That's kind of what happened.
You know what, Ross? And we have a caller on the line. I want to get to him in 1 second. But when you have the amount of bad outings this guy's having... No,
I'm not making excuses for him.
I understand you're not. And tough luck. It's baseball.
Yeah.
I don't give him the benefit of the doubt. If this is Adam Ottavino, who's been really good for this team the past couple of months, and that happens to him, he gets the benefit of the doubt. That, okay, you know what? You've been real good. You got unlucky. It happens. We trust you the next time you go out there. Not with this guy. It happens too much. We do have a caller on the line. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Frankie from Flushing, guys. How are you?
What's going on, Frankie?
Good. No, enjoying the show. And you guys are really on with a lot of the things you're talking about. A couple of things, though. As far as Aaron Judge goes, I mean, I really don't think the Yankees are gonna, they're gonna land him. I mean, they can't live with themselves. It would be like a Babe Ruth moment for the Red Sox and Yankees if he goes to anywhere, to the Mets especially or the Red Sox. They need to nail down Judge, and I think they're going to open the vault for him. That's one. So I don't think anybody's getting Judge but the Yankees. As far as Juan Soto goes, Washington still has him locked up for a couple of years. Upper echelon player, of course, but you're going to have. I wouldn't trade him at the moment because you still got him. But if I was to trade them, they'd have to, get back a huge haul for him. They need like 3 or 4 guys, a pitcher, a couple of, starters, and maybe infielder, an outfielder, guy in the bullpen. That's a talent. If you're gonna let him go, you got to get a haul for him right now. Well, if not, there's no hold him for 2 years.
It's going to deplete your farm system, the top of your farm system, 100%. And teams know this, that this is going to be an historic trade, most likely the biggest trade of all time. And going back on Judge, I agree with you. I don't think he's leaving. I don't know how much Soto has an effect on Judge. I think it does. And while you were talking, I'm thinking about that. Do the Yankees say, you know what? We could trade for this. That would be such an interesting move, though. But we did see it happen. And thank you for the call, Frankie. We appreciate it. We saw it. We saw it happen.
Yeah, and
with Olsen and the Braves.
Yeah. And look, it could happen.
It's happened before, where the team gets rid of lets their franchise player walk. They make a massive trade to bring another player at the same position in. And then pay that guy and give him an extension.
But like you said before, I think the only way that would happen is during the off season, And so I don't know if he gets traded at the deadline. I think the number one team right now is the Dodgers. If he gets traded in the offseason, I see the Mets and the Yankees in that fold right now.
Look, you have to know if you're going to trade for him that he wants to be on your team.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. So if the Mets make a trade for him, you got to know that he wants to be here long term, and you get a deal done. And also, there's just a need for Juan Soto. I mean, you need the offense. You need to support these guys. And look, the Dodgers could use him, support their pitchers, because there's guys that underperformed on that team. There's a need for teams like that need offense in their lineup. And if you can go out and get that guy, you do it. I mean, I think the Mets, at this rate right now, they kind of need a few bats, a few relievers, and they're good. I don't think they need much else because their rotation's fine. I mean, they're
really good.
The rotation's been really good. The Mets do not need a Luis Castillo because their rotation's pretty much set now.
They could use him next year, but they don't need him this year.
Yeah, especially with deGrom, it may not being there. And,
right.
By the way, would you trade deGrom? Would you trade him?
Well, let's talk about deGrom in a minute.
All right.
Stay with Soto. It's an interesting question. Soto did say this about New York. The reporter asked him, "What do you think of New York?" And he says, "I love playing against the Mets, and I love playing at Citi Field in New York." And then he went on to say he has great numbers in that ballpark.
I mean, he does.
He does. He kills the Mets.
Yeah. Now, you do have to remember that doesn't always translate if you're the person that plays there. We saw that, and this is different because he was a pitcher, but I'm sure you remember Zach Greinke pretty well. And Greinke was a guy, when he was on the Dodgers, he owned Chase Field. He owned being in Arizona. He loved pitching there. And when he went to Arizona, he was awful.
Yeah.
And
they paid him a ton of money.
They paid a ton of money. That was a horrible deal.
I remember that contract. Oh, my God.
It was awful. So it doesn't always work. However, I think Soto's different. He is a lot younger, and I think if you get him and you have him for how long you have him, it's worth it.
He's a Hall of Fame player. We do have another caller on the line. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Dave from Massapequa.
What's up, Dave?
What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
Good. My big thing with all this, you know what? Look back a couple of years back when the Cubs won it all, right? Oh, no, they gave away Gleyber Torres and they gave away all these prospects. Do you think Cubs fans give a crap right now that they gave up Gleyber Torres?
No,
they
not at all.
They haven't won a championship since 1908, whatever it was. They brought back a championship to the city of Chicago. So all this stuff, we can't give away prospects for a championship. When was the last time the Mets won a championship? 86?
Yep.
I'd give away the house to get Juan Soto to win a championship.
You know,
you guys are this close. You have deGrom, Scherzer, probably the best 1-2 punch there is right now. You add a Soto, and I'm a Yankee fan. You add Soto, you're at least getting to the World Series.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Soto is it's not a rental. So, you're going to have a great chance to sign him in 2.5 years when he becomes a free agent, or even before then. And also, you have him. He's locked.
Exactly.
He's locked in. And prospects are prospects. They're like a lottery ticket. We have no clue what's going to happen with these prospects.
No one knows any. Exactly.
Yeah, you have no idea.
All the great Yankee prospects that we had, the catcher, who was he? We traded him to the Mariners. He's going to be the next
Sanchez.
Montero. Not Sanchez. Before that, with this other guy, Montero. He was supposed to be the next great thing.
I think
the guy busted out with the Mariners, never played again. So you don't know. Soto is still 23 years old,
and he's one of the best. He's a future Hall of Famer. He is This guy is in my opinion, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. If you have it's very rare that a player like this is available.
I mean, the last time this happened, A-Rod.
Yeah, A-Rod. That's the only comparable thing.
But this national team is sort of like the Marlins, like you said before. They gave away a Scherzer. They gave away. Who else is on the team? They gave away Turner. They give away these guys. So they're sort of like the Marlins giving away guys.
You guys are convincing me, like live on air. Like just do whatever it takes. Because listen, I don't like prospect hoarding, but I also don't like giving away the farm for somebody. But if you're going to give away the farm, you give it away for this.
Yeah, and I'll speak as a Yankees fan. I mean, I'd like to keep Volpe and Dominguez, who just hit a rocket like in the Futures game. I think he'll be a really good player. But when you have Juan Soto and you have a chance to get him, you just do it.
Where both teams are right now, the Yankees, we're right there. Both teams are right there.
And for the Yankees, we want to get ahead of the Astros. They have really good players. Yordan Alvarez, really good young players. Right. So, I don't think the Yankees are like the top team in the running, but I think we could put together a good package for them.
The Yankees could put together as good of a package as anybody can, with Dominguez and Volpe at the top of that.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like you don't have the money. Whether you had to re-sign him, you could re-sign him, and you let Judge walk. But Judge is the big thing.
Yeah,
that's the biggest.
23. It's not like this kid. It's not like this kid is 30 years old. Where crap, he's 23. He's not going anywhere.
It's insane. A player like this, and thank you for the call, Dave. We appreciate it. A player like this shouldn't be available.
Yeah.
They should not be available, and he is. He's available.
Well, because the team is around him is pathetic. The Nationals last year decided to strip it down and being like, hey, we're going to go into full-on rebuild. And Juan Soto, I don't blame him, probably doesn't want to be part of it. So, and I think the money, he's probably not in love with it. And I think, look, if the Mets can get a guy like Juan Soto here, you do it. If a guy's going to be on your team for a decade long, you make these moves. You don't know what Alvarez is going to be. First of all, Alvarez destroyed AA pitching. AAA so far, not good. 2 for 23 so far.
Yeah.
This would be a dream case scenario. Can you trade Dom Smith and Jay Davis for Juan Soto? Do it. Can you make the damn move? Those guys stink.
By the way, I would trade J.D. Davis, who had an insane play at first base in the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday.
Great.
I would do anything to get these two guys off the New York Mets. 516-572-7440 is the number to join. You are listening to WHPC Sports Talk here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Michael Merlo. I've got Ross Levine and Elijah Blain with me, and we're going to discuss Jacob deGrom. And Ross brought up a great point about 10 minutes ago. Would you consider trading Jacob deGrom if you're the New York Mets? Jacob deGrom has an opt-out in his contract after this season. After this season, he has about 2 more years of control at about $30 million. deGrom would obviously opt out of that because if he's healthy, he's the type of guy that gets $45 million a year on a 3 to 4 year contract, and he's going to have a chance to prove himself when he comes back, and that should be very soon. According to some sources, Jacob deGrom is 100%. He's going to pitch in a simulated game tomorrow in the minor leagues, Tuesday, and then they're going to evaluate him from there. If he's good to go, he is going to make his next start at the major league level, either against the Padres over the weekend, which will be about Saturday or Sunday, or if they want to wait 2 extra days, which I hope they do, and I think they will, July 26th at Citi Field against the New York Yankees. So, Ross, do you trade him? No, you don't trade Jacob deGrom.
He doesn't want to be if he doesn't want to be on your team, then
what are you going to get back for him? Because that's the big question.
Look, if you can ever trade deGrom for Juan Soto, I'm only kidding. That's not going to happen. Can you imagine if that was the trade, deGrom for Soto?
Would you sign up for it? Honest
I
to
would
God.
do that immediately.
I think I would too. But the Mets would, and I don't think they need a Castillo or a Montas, but just get one more starter.
Yeah, but you see, the reason why I'm bringing this up because deGrom, Sandy Alderson was saying he might not want to be a Met. He might not.
He doesn't know.
There's no certain thing. However, if he does plan to opt out,
he's going to opt out. He plans on opting. He's going to opt out.
And you don't think you're going to bring him back? Why don't you get something for him? At this point, you look at it and saying, trade him to a team in the American League, trade him to a crappy team.
I don't think
Tigers stink.
Right.
So trade him to a team like that. If he doesn't want to be part of your team, that's right now a world. I don't think right now they're a World Series team. They need to make some moves to add to that. But you're on a win now team right now.
Jacob deGrom comes back to the New York Mets, and they're a World Series caliber team. When we talk about the Mets, I personally don't envision the future with Jacob deGrom for this season because I just can't trust the guy. So I hope to God he comes back and he's Jacob deGrom. And I think if he comes back and he stays healthy, he will be Jacob deGrom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they get this guy back, I think that they're a World Series caliber team and they are a favorite to win the World Series and get to the World Series if they make the moves like we've talked about, getting another bat, getting another bullpen arm. Let me ask you this, Ross. If he is so unhappy in New York, right, and we don't know, that's just the speculation. Do you think that this guy who can live in Florida, like Scherzer's doing, and remember, Scherzer didn't want to be in New York at the trade deadline last season.
Yeah.
And when he spoke to Cohen and he understood his vision, and then the money came, I'll live in Port St. Lucie. It's right by home.
Yeah.
Right by home. Yeah, that's where my house will be. deGrom will do the same thing.
Yeah.
If 4 years for $45 million a year is thrown on the table for Jacob deGrom, you think he says no?
Well,
how many other teams can offer him that?
Dodgers.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the way I look at it for deGrom, and let's say he does go to a team like the Braves, or he goes to those type of teams, you don't know if he's going to be healthy those 4 years.
Yeah.
You really don't know. I mean, the guy can get hurt and miss half that contract. You just don't know. And even if he pitches, I'm not saying he's not going to be good, but he's not going to be what he was before he got hurt in 2021. I don't see that.
They believe he's as dominant or right around there. They believe that this guy is going to come back as an elite starter.
And you got to remember, he's 35. He's going to be 35.
Yes.
So you look at it and say, like, okay, even if we get really good run, it's probably for 3 years. Probably 3 years.
Do you do a contract where here's a 4-year deal at that? Because it's going to be over $43 million, right? We know that. It's going to be over $43 million a year. That's what Scherzer. He's going to want more than Scherzer a year, which if he comes back, deGrom, and stays healthy, and is the guy that we know, he deserves that. He deserves that contract. But if he gets hurt or something happens,
I'm not paying him that.
Goodbye. Walk. Please. Go to the Braves, are crying out loud. But also remember something. The Braves just cheaped out on their own franchise player. So what makes us think that the Braves are all of a sudden going to say, you know what, deGrom? I'm going to add $40 million to my payroll, over $40 million to my payroll for one player
but
for the next 4
thing is,
years.
with the Braves, they think they got a younger, cheaper option in Matt Olson. With deGrom, I think you're getting a top-of-the-line starter right away.
Obviously, I don't want to compare those two guys, but my point is you've seen them cheap out.
Yeah.
It's not as sure as a thing as people are making it out to be that deGrom's going to be a Brave. I don't think it's as sure as they make it out to be. And look, it's the big thing, too, is I just don't see this guy being healthy for the 4 years if he gets 4 years. So, therefore, and because, look, I've seen the Mets with Jacob deGrom out there, okay? And deGrom's been fantastic for the Mets, okay? I'm not trying to, this is not even his fault, actually. But
they haven't won.
They have not won with him.
Right.
They haven't scored runs for him. And look, you've seen this over the last month and a half, or you even saw this over the last few series. When Walker's on the mound, when Peterson's on the mound, when Scherzer's on the mound, whoever's on the mound. If you don't score runs, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, they've scored enough runs lately.
Not against Chicago. Well, yeah, barely against the Cubs.
Hey, a win's a win.
But a
win is a win.
But you can't rely on scoring 2-3 runs.
No, you have to get better off. I agree with you, but I'm not going to sit here and go, pick apart these wins that they had against Chicago or Atlanta.
But we've seen when deGrom's been out there, they don't win with him.
Those were different teams, though. This is a good, this is a really solid baseball team that's 23 games over 500.
So if deGrom comes back and they don't score for him, let's just say they don't score for him.
Well, if they don't score, they're not going to win, obviously.
Yeah. But this is a better team. You just said this is a better team right now this year.
But you're saying I'm not saying they're not going to score for him. I'm saying this is a better team.
I hope they score for him.
You propose a question as if they don't score for him. Obviously, they're not going to win.
But see, the thing is that this is the reason why I want to move him. I look at this whole thing, the whole opt-out stuff, and he hasn't thrown a pitch in a year. To me, it's a distraction. It comes across a little bit as a distraction.
Yeah, for a lot of Mets fans, I think it's something to look forward to. DeGrom coming back more than a distraction.
For a guy that doesn't want to be on your team, though, I would not be in love with DeGrom as much as you were prior.
When he's on, then you have to be in love with DeGrom because
if it's
as of right now, I do not think that he'll be bad with the Mets when he comes back.
He won't be. Look, I don't doubt. I think he'll pitch well for them. Let's be honest, or let's put it this way. If it's Game 7 of the World Series, no doubt you root for him. No doubt. Because those are the biggest games you're ever going to have. Game 7, or any game in the postseason. However, if the game means nothing, and you're in the playoffs already, hopefully the Mets clinch, and you're playing those meaningless games down the stretch just to play out the string, if DeGrom's on the mound, I'm not going to feel as I will have, I don't know, it will be indifferent.
He's not going to pitch in those games. No, he shouldn't pitch in those games. But
why not? You got
to save him. You got to save that arm. You got to save that arm for big games. Listen, I understand why fans are upset with him. I'm upset with him. I'm not upset with him. It's very frustrating that we haven't seen this guy yet. It is. That
he's talking more smack than actually him throwing a pitch.
Right. He's talking more. He's saying, "Oh, I'm opting out." More than he's playing. I agree with you, and it annoys the hell out of me because he's one of my favorite all-time players. But the second he puts on that jersey, whether it's this weekend or next week, I'm going to be like, oh my God, it's finally here. I'm getting myself, and I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm getting myself excited. I'm envisioning it if he comes out against San Diego on Sunday night, or if it's Tuesday night against the Yankees. I'm getting myself worked up. I'm getting myself excited, and I shouldn't. Because there is no guarantee that he comes back, and we've seen it too many times with this guy. But I think it's coming.
I think I'm just going to say if he pitches, he better pitch well. I'm just going to say that.
Well,
because
he's put a lot of pressure on himself.
Yes. If he pitches poorly, he will hear it. It just is a fact. He will hear from fans about the whole money thing.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, it's going to be a big story
because we want him to do well. Because he pitches well, that means the Mets are doing well and they have a better chance to win a World Series.
Right.
We get that. But this is New York. This isn't some random place in the middle of the country.
This is New York.
We heard what you said. And what you said about opting out multiple times, even after not throwing a pitch this season, we heard that, we remember it, and it's being talked about like we're talking about it right now. So when you're pitching, and God forbid he has a clunker where he gives up, 6 runs in one inning or 6 runs in a game, we're going to remember that. And we're going to say, really, you want to opt out? Why do you want to opt out?
I don't, look, these are athletes, and I know they're all going to be greedy. I'm not on the side of the player here. I'm just not. I mean, look, the guy hasn't thrown a pitch. He hasn't had a full season since 2019. And I get 2020 happened. You can't control that. But you're a starting pitcher at the end of the day. You pitch once every 5th day. You haven't thrown a pitch. Get out there first. See what you are. And then make the decision. You should be making decisions before you throw a pitch.
He also might say, you know what? I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm not going to... I'm not going to play around with this fan. I'm going to let them know, like, these are my intentions. Because, look, Noah Syndergaard, who is a much, much lesser pitcher, shouldn't even be spoken about in the same sentence as Jacob deGrom, did not pitch for, 2 years?
2 years.
Close to 2 years through an inning in 2021. And he got $21 million, from the Los Angeles Angels.
Well, the Angels are a joke, so it doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But there could be a team. We don't know who that team is. But if he was to not pitch, there would be a team that says, I'm going to give you $40 million, maybe if it's just for 1 year, but I'll give you, more than what you were going to make with the Mets this season. There is a team that could possibly do that.
Well, then that means that team is pretty stupid.
And he's just saying, listen, this is what I see. And I agree with you, but this is what deGrom sees, and this is what his agent sees. That's his market. And I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, I never rip players for wanting money. I just hold the horses is my point. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Hold the horses. Wait till you throw a pitch, then make a decision. Don't, especially when you're on a win-now team. It's one thing if you were on the Tigers, then whatever. You're on the Mets.
The All-Star Game is tomorrow night. All the festivities taking place now. The Home Run Derby is tonight, and we're going to talk about that for a couple of minutes here. I'm sure the All-Star Game will be talked about tomorrow. I think Major League Baseball does the best job with their All-Star Game. The NBA has gotten better over the past couple of years, but in my opinion, it's still a joke. I mean, you have the dunk contest, and you don't even have your stars doing it. And the three-point contest is fun, but it's quick, and it's not as entertaining as what tonight brings, and that's the Home Run Derby. So the All-Star Game, I'm sure, will be talked about a little bit tomorrow. Very quickly, before we talk about the Derby, though, the New York Yankees, they lose Severino now. He's going to be out a few weeks, possibly a month. We've seen these guys, we've seen hitters now get to Cortez a little bit. Tyone, who looked a little bit better against Boston, but not great. Again, I think it's time to say, you know what, the Yankees may need to address the starting pitching, but I have an alternate take on this.
I don't know. I just find it, again, it's a bad take, but look, when you're scoring 13 runs and 10 runs, you really need a great pitcher.
Here's my take, okay, on the New York Yankees and their starting pitching. Before we get to the Derby, and I do want to talk about Donovan Mitchell and another possible trade for the New York Knicks that I just saw. But we've seen what's going on in baseball, right? Especially in the postseason, and we saw it last season, where teams are not using their starting pitchers as much. Where they get into trouble, bang, they want to go to their bullpen. And the Yankees have the luxury right now today of having probably the best bullpen in all of baseball. Starting pitchers are being devalued all over the game, whether it's the postseason, whether it's in the regular season. Just not being trusted as much, and I hate that because I love good starting pitching. But the Yankees are losing starters. Guys aren't pitching as well. I think the Yankees will add a guy for depth. But they realize what they're playing for. Their division's locked up. The division's it's done. They don't have to worry about that.
Pretty much.
The only thing they're worrying about is a 1 seed. The New York Yankees are now adding strictly for what they need in the postseason. The Mets are adding for what they need for the stretch run to win the division, and then the postseason. Other teams, same thing. The Yankees and the Astros, those two teams are adding for strictly the postseason right now.
Yeah.
And depth. I think the Yankees are going to add more bullpen arms than you see them add a big-time starting pitcher. I see Castillo as a possibility, and sure, he's great. I don't think the Yankees blow up the farm to go get Castillo. I really don't. I really don't see it. I think
they learned their lesson.
Their philosophy is add to that bullpen, have a great bullpen, and that's going to win you a championship possibly. I think that's what they're going to do.
I'd only trade for Castillo if we don't give up Volpe and Dominguez, and that's probably unlikely.
Probably giving up at least
one of them.
No, definitely just one of them, but it'll probably be one of them.
Yeah, and I could see us adding more bullpen. I mean, it's just we have some guys that are just we can't rely on. Like one, let me see. So Boston, who blew the game? It was Loaizaga. Loaizaga blew the first game, and he just came back.
What, the extra innings, 11th inning?
Yeah,
but there was a runner on second base. I mean, the team didn't score.
Before
I think he's talking about in Boston. Lead. Either way, the Yankees bullpen's been great, and I'm not saying they need to add to it. I'm saying they're going to add to it because they want to, because they want that to be even more of a strength, saying, okay, we're losing a little bit in the starting rotation, but our bullpen's going to be what gets us through and wins us a World Series. The Home Run Derby tonight. Who do you guys like tonight?
I'm going to say Pete Alonso. I just think he's going to win 3 in a row.
I got my money on Pete tonight. I had a boost because he's the favorite. He's the betting odds favorite to win tonight, and it was by a large margin. But they gave me a boost, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put all the money on Pete tonight. So I got some shackles on Pete. What about you, Elijah? What do you think?
I like Acuna.
I think there's 2 guys that can beat him. 2 guys. Not Acuna. I think Schwarber can beat him, and I think Soto can beat him. Those are the only 2 guys that can beat him. If it's not them, I'd be shocked.
Soto is a great at opposite field home run, so I can see that.
Soto was really good last year. I forget who he lost. It might have been Pete. I forget who he lost to, But
I think he lost to Pete.
Soto had a great round, and then whoever was going after him just completely. I don't know why. I don't think it was Pete. I got to look back, but Soto was really good last season.
Yeah,
in the home run derby.
Could you imagine then the trade happening? Could you imagine? I'm sorry. Anytime you bring up Juan Soto, now it's like must watch because he's on the table. But in all fairness, I think Soto could win it. I would not like to see Schwarber win it. I don't like Schwarber. I just don't like him. I'm not a fan of him. I know he's been good for the Phillies. I don't think the Phillies are all that great to begin with.
He stepped up for them when they've needed it badly.
They were struggling a little bit. I mean, I don't know if you saw the stat with the Phillies. That was the first time they swept them all since 2010. That's embarrassing.
I couldn't believe that.
That's awful. Yeah.
They've been this bad. But granted, the Phillies have also been pretty bad since around then. Since they really won the World. I mean, what are they, 11 straight years?
They just cannot develop prospects.
Yeah.
11 straight years of not making the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't made it since 2011, so yeah.
Oh, my God, yeah. They've been that bad, though. I heard it last night, and I was like, wow, they really haven't swept them as bad as the Marlins have been for the past 12 years. They haven't swept the Marlins once, but the Phillies have arguably been just as bad. They haven't made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Marlins, I know their record is where it is. They're pathetic. Their offense is pathetic.
Yeah, they were a game away from being 500 2 weeks ago. Right before they came in and played the Mets a weekend ago. If they won the last game of the Angel series, they would have been 500. It's crazy.
It's crazy. They scored 1 run in 3 games against the Phillies. 1 run. That's embarrassing.
And they gave Sandy Alcantara a loss on Friday night. He was unbelievable. They went 7 or 8 innings, struck out 12, gave up 2 runs. He was unbelievable. Arguably one of his best starts of the season because he struck out so many guys, and he gets a loss. That pained me because I have him on my fantasy team. You are listening to WHPC Sports Talk here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Michael Merlo. I've got Ross Levine. I've got Elijah Blain. A few minutes left, and a lot of rumors over the weekend, the past few days, about Donavan Mitchell. And Donavan Mitchell and the Knicks seem to be a match made in heaven. I mean, did you see where Mitchell was this weekend?
He was at what was that, a Met game?
He was at Wrigley Field.
No, he was at a Brooklyn Cyclones game.
Oh.
Yeah, he's going to the Knicks. It's going to happen.
I mean
no, but his father worked for the Mets, so he could just be there.
He has so many ties. I think they were doing a giveaway for it. They were doing a Donovan. I swear to God, there was a giveaway. I should check if he was there or not. I know for a fact this weekend the Brooklyn Cyclones did a giveaway of Donovan Mitchell. It was like a bobblehead or something.
Yeah,
of Donovan Mitchell at the Mets AA affiliate. They were doing a giveaway for this guy. It feels like a match made in heaven. He loves New York. He loves the Mets. He tweets about the Mets. He talks about the Mets. He's at the Met games when he can. Have you ever seen an athlete that loves New York so much?
I always hear people hate New York, so this is different for me. I mean, look, here's the thing. Players love New York when they first get to New York. It's like 2 years later where they don't like New York at all. That's kind of what happens. But look, with Mitchell, I think it's pretty clear and obvious. I think he wants to be a Knick. And I think something will get done, if not before the season starts, certainly during season.
It's just Danny Ainge. That's the big problem. He wants a lot back.
Well, I mean, he's their star player. I don't blame him for wanting a lot back. And they trade Rudy Gobert. They're blowing it up. So, I mean, they want draft picks.
And by the way, that trade for Rudy Gobert really screws not only the Knicks, but any other team trying to trade a star like this, including, the Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, because what they got back for Rudy Gobert was such a haul. It set precedent for any other trade. They got back so much. They fleeced the Timberwolves in that trade. And now they're sitting here saying, look at what we're going to have to give up now to trade for Donovan Mitchell. That's what the Knicks are saying. But I think the Knicks are going to do it. I think no matter what. And I think they're going to be able to keep R.J. Barrett, and they'll be able to keep Randall in this deal. So you're going to have a starting 5 of, R.J., Brunson, Mitchell, Robinson, Donovan Mitchell, Robinson, and Julius Randle. That's a pretty good starting 5.
Yeah.
But
It's very good starting five.
Does it win you a championship?
No, it does not.
No,
and what's funny is the Jazz have sat here and they've gone to the playoffs and they've had a high seed for years now with this core of guys that they're now letting go. And they've gone to the playoffs and lost. And Danny Ainge has seen this and realized we can't win a championship.
Well, he's right. They can win a championship. They keep losing the second round. I mean, he's right.
And exactly, he is right. And he's going to blow it up, and he's going to trade Rudy Gobert to a team that's going to go to the playoffs most likely and lose and not win a championship. He's going to trade Donovan Mitchell to a team that's going to give up a lot, and they're going to go to the playoffs, and they're not going to win a championship. It's almost like it's so stupid, but Knicks fans deserve this. The Knicks should make this deal. Whatever it is, as long as you can keep, your core group of guys where you do have that starting five. I would give up Quickly. I would give up Toppin. I would give up whatever picks. These Toppin and Quickly, we view them as good players because they're here and the Knicks drafted them. Yeah. They're not good players. They're not. And I would be surprised if that was a deal breaker for the Jazz. Oh, we need this guy. Believe me, the Jazz don't need Emmanuel Quickly. They don't need Obi Toppin.
They also, look, the guy that I really like on the Knicks, I mean, he may get dealt. He probably will get dealt in this Mitchell deal. I really like Quentin Grimes.
Yeah.
He's really good. I know it's only the summer league, but you saw it last year. He was really good.
When he played for the Knicks, he stepped up in a big way.
He was great for them. I mean, and look, he may be part of the deal. He probably will be part of the deal. If Danny Ainge is smart, like we all think he is, he probably would put him in the deal. And I know Julius Randle's going to be here. I wish he wasn't. But I think the Knicks still need to find a way to move him.
Yeah, I just do not like it with Julius Randle. It just doesn't work. The spacing doesn't work. The style of play doesn't work with that potential lineup.
Yeah.
But I think we're trading for Donovan Mitchell if we do it. I think it's really just to have a star and prove that an actual star can come to the Knicks and do well here. And I think it's kind of recruiting for the next wave of free agents and better players who want to, are free agents and may want to come to New York. So, I mean, it's something that I guess you have to do. I'm not comfortable with trading some of the young guys, but if you get Donovan Mitchell out of it, then, who cares?
And for the last few seconds of this deal, I got this update on my phone right before we came on the air. And this is from Mark Stein. And Russell Westbrook is being linked to the New York Knicks if a Donovan Mitchell trade happens. Now, the reason why the Knicks would want to do this is because they would want to clear cap space for the next few years and trade Julius Randle. So they would get rid of Julius Randle's contract, and they would take on Russell Westbrook's, $47 million for this season. And maybe the Lakers will help him. I don't know. But they would try and do that so that the next few years, they don't have the Randle contract and Westbrook will be out of here. But it's funny that the Knicks haven't had point guards. And now they sign Brunson, they'll trade for Mitchell, another guard. They have Barrett, and they'll trade for another point guard and Russell Westbrook, an expensive one at that. I don't think this is going to happen.
No.
This is a secondary move for the Lakers, according to Mark Stein, who would like to trade Russell Westbrook in a deal for Kyrie Irving, but I doubt any of that's going to happen.
I wish that's what the Knicks should do. Get anything you possibly could, you take on Westbrook and you flip him. You just get rid of him once he first gets and you get picks. Just get him out of here.
We'll see. We'll see.
Westbrook
can't shoot.
We'll see what happens with that. The Knicks offseason is going to be very, very interesting, and I think a star's coming to New York. I think Mitchell will be here, but that's going to do it for us here on WHPC Sports Talk. For Ross Levine and Elijah Blain, I'm Michael Merlo here on the voice of Nassau Community College. 90.3 WHPC. Have a fantastic rest of the night, everybody, and enjoy the Home Run Derby. Let's go, Pete Alonso.